Hi, this is Jim Cranston from 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com, the podcast and website about reimagining your life. Thanks for joining me tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about negative self-talk and how to put a stop to that. So let's get started. First, a quick reminder, since we're talking about things like negative self-talk, if you get carried away with that and really start thinking bad thoughts about yourself, you can always dial the two shortcuts 911, obviously, or 988, which is the short code for National Suicide Hotline, or 800. Actually, let me just put those up on the screen if I can find them really quick. Um, there we are. So 800-273-8255 or 988 or of course 911 at any point. You know, negative self-talk, like everything else, can go across the gamut. If you really get down on yourself, talk to somebody, get some help. So if you like what you hear tonight, please leave a like and tell your friends and send me a message. So tonight we're revisiting an old topic, negative self-talk. Why? It seems to be becoming more prominent in many different circles as people are guided by social media and other influences to kind of view themselves in this kind of single purpose little cog in a huge machine sort of fashion. And it's kind of like, well, that's all I do, and I'm not good at doing that. I'm not doing good. So nothing could be further to the truth, actually, because the only thing stopping you from starting to follow your dreams, obviously, as we talked about many times, is you. I'm, certainly not saying that it's easy necessarily, and it certainly has risk, but if you have some huge, audacious, you know, goal, grand goal that you want to follow no matter what, how wonderful would it be if you attained even half of that great huge goal? You'd feel amazing. So there are, of course, many steps along that path, which we often talk about, but the most important steps are defining your vision, which is actually not easy. We always think it is, but it actually takes some real searching inside yourself to find your vision. And then setting your goals, and that's somewhat easy because they're very tangible, right? We talked about SMART goals, and they're measurable. That's the tangible part of it. So, you can set your goals, and then finally starting to work towards your goals step by step. So those first and last steps of setting your, defining your vision and then actually starting towards it, that's where many people kind of go off the rails, and that, of course, leads to negative self-talk. But that's not the only place negative self-talk comes from. It often comes from common knowledge. And then we talked about this before. Girls can't do math. Guys are never good about managing their time. There's a million other ones around. And they just become this almost always false common knowledge. But far worse, in my opinion, is all the negative self-image talk that we see when it isn't really talk, kind of talk used figuratively, where AI is used to make you look truly beautiful or truly handsome. If there's any one AI app that I would completely restrict and ban from people using until they're about 80 years old, it would be that. I work with many people who have updated the profile picture to look prettier. Note to everyone, they don't look prettier. They look like they already had a wonderful little pretty picture, perfectly fine before. They ran it through an AI engine, and now you look like a Twilight Zone episode I remember watching around 1960 or 64, where young girls at their coming out party, they'd pick how they wanted to look. I think there were like 5 or 6 options, maybe even fewer, and what their personality was going to be. And voila, they were then transformed into that. And at the time, and still now, it's a totally creepy sort of thought. And yet that's what we see exactly on AI. So there's this kind of general social media drivel also that's just always in the background. And there's constant stereotypical talk going on about, insert the group of interest here. Is it baby boomers, people of color, Ukrainians, people of Jewish descent, people of Latin descent, people who vote differently than I do, whatever it is. There's plenty of things where if you're in one of those groups, kind of like, wow, maybe I really am wrong, right? You're bombarded nonstop if you allow it. And seeing it slowly chips away at your own self-confidence. On Instagram, for example, when I get anything like that, I immediately mark it as offensive. Not just I don't want to see it anymore. I mark it as offensive. And if they have anything worse, like this should be investigated by the FBI, I check that and suggest it be removed. And I rarely get that topic a second time. You have control over this. You can make these things, not always entirely, but to a large degree, somewhat go away. So, now we have some ideas from where negative self-talk starts. But probably our own worst enemy is ourselves. Because you try something once and it doesn't work, and you immediately tell yourself, guess I can't do that. And you have now set your path for your entire future because you failed at something once. especially if you failed in public, your brain will really double down and make sure you don't try that thing again because it doesn't want to be embarrassed. So what's interesting is that we have hundreds, thousands of examples of people who publicly talk about trying and failing for years, sometimes decades, before succeeding. They're held up as these great examples. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we completely ignore all of that and treat ourselves with this one and done attitude towards success. I tried it once, didn't work. I really didn't want to do it anyway. So this version is a tough one to overcome, but it can be done. First is remembering how you did that last time or when you started, and ask yourself if you're doing any better now. If you are, great. Write it down along with the reasons why you're doing better. And if you aren't, great. Write it down along with the reasons why you're not doing better. Wait, that's the same action you're taking in both whether you improve or don't improve. Exactly. What you're doing is you're training your brain to look at yourself more gently, and instead of judging every single attempt, you're looking for improvements and progress over time. The real point is that most of negative self-talk originates within ourselves, and it's due to selective recall and a desire to keep ourselves safe and comfortable. But we're in control of that. And when we focus on our vision and our step-by-step, movement along towards our goals, we're now focusing on real attainable steps that we're able to get closer and through that truly enjoy our lives. Now, super important note here, this applies at any age. A fiddler acquaintance of mine who I first heard at actually a Borders bookstore, if you remember those. I went there with my nephew, and we were downstairs getting a coffee or something. I don't know what we were doing. And I heard this fiddle and somebody stomping on it, boom, 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 boom. And I said to him, there's a fiddler in the building somewhere. And so we went up to the music department, and sure enough, there he was. And he was there trying to promote his latest album. Actually, I think at the time it was his only album. He started playing when he was about getting ready to retire, and just decided he wanted to learn to play seriously. And boy, he sure did. He was entirely self-taught and could have come up with dozens of reasons why not to try, but fortunately, he followed his personal and persistent vision and gave us decades of wonderful music. You can do most anything that's truly aligned with your vision, right? You've got this. You really, really do. Have faith in yourself. So that's it for the evening. Remember to keep that negative voice that it hides inside our head and it always pops out at the most inopportune moments, but just tell it, hush up, just be quiet, because you're not relevant. What we say to ourselves is what we believe in ourselves and believe of ourselves. And that is probably how our future will actually evolve, because that's what we think we're going to be, and so we're going to live our life thinking what we're going to be. So take charge, keep the negative self-talk to a minimum, and call yourself out on it when it happens. It's going to happen, but there's nothing like scolding yourself, to really fix it, especially if it's in public. Just kind of mumble to yourself. Because when you do that, it kind of really burns it into your memory. And now your brain gets a different message. It's kind of, when I say that, instead of thinking safe, it makes him unhappy, and my job is to keep him happy, so maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. And we talked about this. It takes a while for that to happen. But if you don't start, right, you'll never attain that point. So every time it happens, start tonight, start tomorrow. You say something kind of, oh, you're so stupid. No, say, wait. No, you're not stupid. You forgot something. You had 33 things going on, you forgot something. Wow, let's reframe that. Okay, you have a lot of stuff going on. Maybe we should look for a better way to manage all the things going on. So you have the power to reframe it however you want. Your homework, always optional, is keep a little notebook or sheet of paper, anything that you have handy. And anytime you catch yourself spouting negative self-talk, no matter how justified it may seem, write it down in your little notepad. Real paper is better than an app, but if an app is the only thing you want to use, that'll do. But when you actually take the time to write it down, it involves more of your memory, more of your brain, and it will really kind of burn it into your own self-perception. Extra points if you also write down a rebuttal, and a gold star if you not only think of the rebuttal, but actually say that to yourself right away to reverse some of that negative self-talk. So that's it for the evening. Remember, as always, ukr7.com. There we are, ukr7.com, links to support the people of Ukraine, and there's a lot of other links as well online now, which is awesome. And then, of course, we also talk about, oh my goodness, I have misplaced him, wck.org. Oh, there we go. That's World Central Kitchen. Jose Andres food support place. It goes into areas of disasters, always busy, always doing stuff. Both those places, great places to support. But we've talked about this a lot. There's also local charities and things that you may want to support. And the reality is, if you're in a point right now where you don't have any money, you can support people just by walking down the street, catching their eye and saying, hey, have a good day. Morning, how you doing? Just a smile can change somebody's day around. Had a great time actually at a Stewart's. If you're from the East Coast, you'll know Stewart's. They're little coffee shops. And the guy who works behind the counter, he does close. And this is a Monday night. Kind of like, what fun! After your weekend, you get to close Stewart's, you know. And so I was in there around 8 o'clock, 8:30, something, picking up something for somebody else, and we had a great conversation, just a great conversation, and just got talking about different things because as I mentioned, I'm celiac, and I said, "Oh, you kill me with all these donuts by the front door. I want to get them, but I can't." He says, "Oh, I think that's bad. I'm working in the ice cream bins." He said, "I smell the ice cream and see the ice cream." I said, "I got a friend that works in a bakery because I don't know how she does it," and so. We had 3 minutes where we both felt a lot better. It cost neither one of us anything. It wasn't like we were holding anybody up. You have the power to change somebody's life just by little tiny action. So remember that, you know, one of the best ways to care for yourself is to care for others. So if you can and you're able, check it out, ukr7.org.com, wck.org, or just make somebody smile. As always, thanks for stopping by. If you found something interesting or useful, please pass it along. And if not, please, you know, send me a notice to what you'd like to hear. And of course, please hit that like button. It makes a difference. Have a great week. Remember to live the life that you dreamed of because that's the path to true contentment. Love and encouragement to everyone. See you next week on 7 Every Minute and 7everyminute.com. Thank you.